So we've got Gerard Fabiano and his opponent Kevin Jones there on the right. You can see Gerard there on the left. And Gerard is playing Esper and Kevin is playing Flash. Already, I said the two decks I expected to see more of this weekend. There they are right in round one.
Now, Gerard Fabiano, for those of you who don't know, he is the United States' only level 50 mage, as far as I'm aware.
Wow, did not know that.
Did Jerry Thompson just cross the threshold?
Okay, that's right. That
then,
was featured
pardon
on
me.
That's
right. He crossed the threshold
on the mothership
the other day. Let me restate this. Gerard Fabiano, now the highest rated planeswalker in the USA.
So these players underway here with just land go so far. A Thought Scour to start the spells, and he scours away a Boros Reckoner and an Augur of Bolas. That's Kevin Jones, of course, playing Thought Scour. Kevin on the play here. Gerard draws his card for his third turn, plays an Isolated Chapel, and you can see he's passing back a Cycled Azorius Charm from Kevin Jones at the end of the turn.
Azorius Charm, one of those cards that just helps make the Flash deck work, largely because in the matchups where you're going for a race, it can really push a race back.
Kevin, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Kevin plays an untapped Steam Vents representing end of turn Restoration Angel there.
2 life for that Steam Vents.
Yeah.
Jace.
And Jace, Architect of Thought from Gerard. So Kevin has an Izzet Charm to counter it, but that also counters the opportunity to play the Restoration Angel at that particular point. And Kevin cycles yet another Azorius Charm at the end of Gerard's turn. So.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Joey Pasco. This is SCG Live, and the total count is in 554 players.
Okay. So quite a few players showing up here on St. Patrick's Day weekend. Main phase Thought Scour from Kevin Jones. And his hand, I believe, is either double or triple Reckoner, and we know he's, or at least represented, at least one Restoration Angel. There's one of those Reckoners. I believe he may have 2 Restoration Angels. I could be wrong. There's a Searing Spear we can see in his hand there, too.
You can see a Supreme Verdict in Gerard Fabiano's hand, along with land, I believe a Tribute to Hunger.
I believe so as well. So,
there are 2 Tribute to Hungers in Gerard's deck.
All right, Gerard plays his 5th land, and he's going to Supreme Verdict. He's going to save that Tribute for a little later. Making maximal use of his mana there.
Yeah, the thing about that Tribute as well, like, the Tribute as an instant can perhaps do something in an opportune moment, and it costs 1 less mana, as you were alluding to there, Joey, so he can maybe do 2 things at once with it.
Kevin passes the turn with 4 mana up, and here I believe we're going to see a Restoration Angel as Gerard plays a Drown Yard and passes the turn. And no Restoration Angel. He does have it. He just does not want to cast it. I believe a 3rd Azorius Charm is in Kevin's hand.
Drowns himself.
Wow, and did he hit Revelation, Devour Flesh, and Hallowed Fountain off of the Drown Yard, though. So that's something you don't see very often, Gerard using Drown Yard on himself there.
He does have 3 Think Twice in his deck to help make use of that.
And 1 Snapcaster Mage to help mitigate that sort of loss of any sort of important cards, such as Devour Flesh, which we could see him use Snapcaster on, or even Supreme Verdict later on.
Switches directions.
Yeah.
Drowning Kevin Jones.
And Kevin still just no plays, even though we know he has a Restoration Angel. He's not. Doesn't see. It looks like he's got 2 Restoration Angels. I'm actually kind of surprised he's not jamming it out there.
I think he's trying to get to the ability to have perhaps 6 mana to be able to have a Restoration Angel plus mana up for the mana leak that he does not actually run.
Yeah.
But just as a
representing some sort of negate. So Reckoner,
3 mana 2. Open. He could use this to cast a Dissipate or Counterflux, both of which are in his deck.
So I believe that was Reckoner resolving, and end of turn, Gerard drowns Kevin yet again.
Look at that old Plains there on top.
Yeah, that looks like unlimited to me.
It is unlimited.
Unlimited Plains. A lot of players would do, would really like to have unlimited Plains. I mean, assuming they want to cast white spells.
You mean in play?
Maybe they're playing what was the white land from Zendikar that required 6 lands?
Emeria?
Emeria, that's it. Emeria, the Sky Ruin.
I've been having a discussion online with a friend of mine whether Emeria belongs in one of our modern decks. Supreme
Alright,
Verdict.
Second Supreme Verdict for Gerard, and that deals with the second Reckoner. Trading Verdict 1-for-1 with Reckoners so far this game.
He's got Drown mana open for his Nephalia Drown Yard.
Yeah, so this is end of Gerard's turn, I believe. Kevin checking out his graveyard. What am I missing? Oh, he does have a Think Twice, I believe. Yeah, just one copy of Think Twice, and he just goes ahead and uses that, flashes it back. Kevin plays his 7th land, another untapped Steam Vent, so this turn he's representing Restoration Angel plus Dissipate, and again Gerard drowns Kevin at the end of turn.
Kevin's hand is very full, and he also has a Sphinx's Revelation in hand.
There we see end of turn Restoration Angel, as we I've expected that for several turns now.
You know, I think he's been deciding that he's going to really try to protect this Angel.
Yeah.
Make sure it doesn't die to black removal, make sure it doesn't get counterspelled.
And Gerard with the decision, ball's in his court here. Angel on the stack. Not as powerful as if there were something like an Augur of Bolas in play, but still a 3/4 flyer at instant speed. It's a very, very good card, as I'm sure everyone who's been playing for the last 6 or 7 months is well aware. Actually,
so it
almost
resolves.
a year.
The Angel resolves, and then Gerard, Tribute to Hunger, gains 4 life.
Kevin lets that hit the table.
Oh,
and
Assemble the Legion. Red 1/3 for an enchantment that every turn you put, I believe, a muster counter. It might be
Yes,
another kind
it
of
is a
counter on
muster
it.
counter.
And then you put into play after that 1 red-white hasty 1/1 soldier for every muster counter on it. And Gerard says, I'm going to respond by Sphinx's Revelation for 3. Yeah, there is, you can see Assemble the Legion. This card is no joke.
Once it gets going, it's frightening. Before it gets going, it seems lackluster. So you've got a 5 mana, do absolutely nothing here for Kevin Jones. Next turn, he'll have a 1/1 haste. It does not seem that impressive when it first hits the table, but once
it does not
starts
take long
to get out of hand, it is quite the difficult card to fight. So here we have the resolved Sphinx's Revelation for Gerard. He untaps, and he's going to have to find a way to deal with that. Now, as far as his main deck, I don't see the detention spheres that some people may be playing. He does have 1 planar cleansing, so that is one way to deal with it. He plays an Augur of Bolas. Didn't quite see whether he whiffed or got a card on that first Bolas, but he's playing the second one, and this time he gets a Sphinx's Revelation for sure. Plays a land and passes back to Kevin. So here we're going to see Assemble the Legion in action. There's a muster counter. There's a dude. He has haste. So 5 mana for a 1/1 haste at this point. Not great value, but we'll see how that pans out for Kevin.
At Gerard's 27 life, it would take a Assemble the Legion 7 turns to kill him.
Ooh, doing the
But
math.
obviously those augurs change the math.
And Gerard, again, with a Drown Yard at the end of Kevin's turn. Gerard's counting the graveyard there. I don't suppose you were counting along with him, were you?
Nope.
Azorius
Azorius
Charm
Charm.
cycled for Gerard. I believe, I didn't quite see what he drew, sorry. Draws I believe, a Think Twice off the top there for his turn. Psychic Strike? Okay, Psychic Strike was what Gerard drew off of the Azorius Charm. Azorius Charm, I think, is still the best charm. The best standard legal charm. You disagree?
Okay, in standard.
Yes, that's what I mean. All right, so this is end of turn Searing Spear for one of the Augurs of Bolas, leaving Gerard with just 1. And here we have an end of turn Restoration Angel from Kevin Jones. And I believe, not sure if that's resolved. I'm pretty sure Kevin has a Dissipate in hand.
Yes,
There it is,
it's
right there in
there.
front of the front. He's ready to use it if necessary. And there's that Psychic Strike.
That is the
And
first time I've seen a Psychic Strike cast on camera.
there you have it, Psychic Strike. It is a cancel that mills for 2, essentially. That's a nice shortcut. 3 mana counterspell, hard counter, and mills the top 2 cards of that player's graveyard, so helping the Drown Yard plan. Kevin there adding another muster counter to his Assembled Legion and gets 2 soldiers, so now he's got 3 total.
1 dies
attacks,
to the Augur.
yeah. 1 blocked by the Augur, 2 get in, knocking Gerard to 25. And again, Drown Yard doing some work for Gerard at the end of Kevin's turn.
Think twice from Gerard from the graveyard. Gerard with a ton of lands.
Yeah, I feel like this particular situation, despite the Assembled Legion, favors Gerard. He's been drowning all game, and he's got a lot of lands. He's got a lot of cards in hand. He's got a lot of life, so it's not looking too bad for Gerard. A second Augur of Bolas, and that finds him a Supreme Verdict in the top 3. That will help temporarily deal with some of those soldier tokens, but
Now you can start seeing, as the Legion grows incredibly rapidly, just how absurd Assemble the Legion can get.
Yeah.
This is only the 3rd turn of Assemble the Legion, and it's already gotten to a point where it's pretty crazy.
so they're all 5 tokens attack. 2 were blocked by Augurs, and 3 get in. Gerard's still at 22. Pretty healthy, but yeah, Assembled the Legion is it's pretty crazy once it gets going.
Gerard draws 3 with a Sphinx's Revelation, to which I think we're going to see a Snapcaster Counterflux. And then there's a Drown for 3. And that was Snapcaster Counterflux.
Okay, good call. Couldn't see the counterflux there. So no revelation for Gerard, but he does get another little Drown in. Not sure, curious how many cards are left in Kevin's library, but can't be very many considering how much drowning's been going on since very early in this game. There you have the Supreme Verdict after the 2 Augurs of Bolas swing in.
It's not going to matter very much, though.
Yeah, Gerard's going to count. I saw about 10.
Now, Kevin Jones will kill 10, apparently. Kevin Jones will kill Gerard in 4 attacks with that Assemble the Legion all by itself.
Is he going to have time to attack?
It's going to be
4
close.
times? That's what Kevin needs to figure out how to do. So there you see 4 muster counters and 4 soldiers for Kevin. Knocks Gerard to 18 here. And another Drown. 1, 2, 3. Should be 7 left in Kevin's library. Gerard just needs to keep himself from dying to that Assemble the Legion. Or more specifically, these soldiers. And yeah, Kevin knows he doesn't have a lot of time to kill Gerard. He's got about 10 lands untapped there. Plenty of mana, but
9 soldiers in play.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes on Kevin's side.
Boom.
Gonna swing in with all 9. Gonna knock Gerard to 9 here, presumably. And Gerard is going to, he's getting the Drown Yard warmed up over there. Kevin needs to find some sort of answer to Drown Yard or
Augur.
Augur Bolas off the top for Kevin. Not off the top, but he's going to check and see what he can find. He finds a Sphinx's Revelation, not the most exciting card. He doesn't need life, and he doesn't want to draw cards. So there you see Drown Yard going to work.
A second Assemble the Legion is put into the graveyard. That is very unusual. I mean, I've seen 1 Assemble the Legion in these lists, but this is the first time I've seen 2.
Yeah, just 2 main deck, but just 2 is something that you don't hear very often. I've seen them in the sideboard more often than main deck. And Kevin's going to scoop him up.
Not quite there. Needed 1 more turn.
Was very close,
boy.
as you mentioned. 1 turn for Kevin Jones, and he may have. Presuming that Gerard didn't have some sort of way to prevent some of that damage, maybe another Supreme Verdict. We did see Gerard. I believe he cast all 3 of his Supreme Verdicts. Never mind, but a planar cleansing would have not only dealt with all those soldiers, but dealt with the Assembled Legion itself.
Interesting cards in the board. Kevin Jones has Psychic Spiral. Now, if you don't know what Psychic Spiral is, it's an instant, blue 4. And what Psychic Spiral does is you shuffle your graveyard back into your library, and then target player is milled for the number of cards you've shuffled back into your library. So you could just target yourself and just get a new graveyard. But typically what you do is you target your opponent.
That's not common.
and you kill them.
Yeah, and that card's been seeing play usually as like a one-of win condition in a lot of these blue control decks. The game goes long. They're trying to drown you anyway. In a lot of cases, in Gerard's case. But so they've already kind of got things going that way. So in Gerard's case, he's drowning Kevin. Kevin can Psychic Spiral to reset his library and also mill Gerard, kind of turning the tables on the Drown Yard deck. Also, you've seen it see play in the Drown Yard decks to just help the cause, to mill just that much faster.
Absolutely. He also has Witchbane Orb. Witchbane Orb, a very good answer to the Drown Yard.
Yeah, looking at Gerard's list, he does not play Psychic Spiral. But one card that is very interesting, and I don't think I've seen it in a standard list before, and I think you and I were talking about it last night. He's got Gideon, Champion of Justice, in his sideboard, just a one-of.
Just funny you mentioned that, because Kevin Jones also has Gideon, Champion of Justice, in his sideboard.
That's a card I didn't expect to see this weekend. So I'd be curious. I would like to see that card in play.
I think that the Gideon is very good at dodging sorcery speed removal.
Sure.
It can't dodge a detention sphere because the detention sphere, it's actually, yes, it's at sorcery speed, but it's an enchantment. So when it comes into play, it does something to Gideon. But Gideon often is not very reachable. But in a matchup like this, where for Kevin, that Gerard has these Supreme Verdicts, a Gideon could be very hard to answer. And then on the other hand, for Gerard, if Gerard puts a Gideon in play against an Assembled Legion,
that's going to be a big Gideon.
It'll be a big Gideon very fast.
Another card, though, you mentioned about dodging sorcery speed removal. The first card that comes to mind when I think about that.
Obzadat.
Ghost Council, one-of in Gerard's sideboard, so that's one that we could see. A Jace Memory Adept in Gerard's board as well, to go along with his 2 Jace Architect of Thought, and to go along with the mill plan. A lot of Gate Crash cards in Gerard's sideboard. The Gideon, as I mentioned, he's got 2 Blind Obedience, which we've seen here and there showing up, and the Obzadat, of course, and 2 Psychic Strikes main deck, as we saw one of those in that last game. Now, something that I've noticed, and these 2 lists disagree on the number. Sphinx's Revelation recently has been a 4-of in a lot of the decks that are playing it. Kevin just going with 3, Gerard going with 4. Shaheen kind of made a very good argument last week in Indy about playing 4 Sphinx's Revelations in a very aggro metagame, where a lot of times, and we saw it happen on camera, where you draw Sphinx's Revelation, and if it had just been something like a Think Twice, you would have been in a much better situation than holding this kind of dead card for the very early part of the game. You don't want to cycle a Sphinx's Revelation for 4 mana, draw 1 card. It's very, very powerful card, but very early it's kind of
was Shaheen's argument against 4?
Yes, it was for playing 3, and we saw it on camera where a player. Well, this was also a poor decision, we felt, by one of the Esper players, where he played an Augur of Bolas and found in the top 3 a Devour Flesh or a Sphinx's Revelation as his choice, and he went with the Sphinx's Revelation, and the entire time, had it been a Devour Flesh, we think he had won the game. Instead, he just ended the game with a Sphinx's Revelation in hand.
See, in Kevin Jones' list here, I like 3 Sphinx's Revelations because he is, in this matchup, largely going to be the aggressor, and in matchups where he's not the aggressor, he still is going to be going trading card for card and then turning to an attack moment at some point. So he just needs to refill every once in a while. But in a deck that's more controlling, I definitely like 4. Augur on turn 2, the first real action in the game.
This is game 2 between Gerard Fabiano, up a game versus Kevin Jones, Esper Control versus Blue White Red Flash. I'm Joey Pasco in the booth with Adrian Sullivan, coming to you guys live from Washington, D.C.
The StarCityGames.com Open Series. our director, Jesse Snyder, out there in the field. Did he win? Did he lose? What do you think? He gives us the thumbs down. He lost. So you Jesse fans out there, I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah. Olivia Boldarin did him in.
Yeah.
So Kevin attempts to cast a Reckoner. It meets a Syncopate, and Gerard follows that up with a Duress. And we see Assemble the Legion, Geist of St. Traft, and Sphinx's Revelation alongside an island there in Kevin's hand.
I like taking the Assemble, honestly.
It was close to winning Kevin the game last
And yeah,
game,
he gets rid of the Assemble.
Yeah, that's what Gerard goes with.
In for one, says the Augur.
Kevin going to cast Geist of St. Traft now, post-combat. And
think twice in response.
Twice from Gerard. Not going to draw into Force of Will in this format.
Well, you might. You just lose the game then.
Sure. So, Geist of St. Traft resolves here. Gerard looking like he's not, he doesn't have the Supreme Verdicts that he had last game. Although, I could be wrong. I didn't see it in his hand. It doesn't mean it's not there. Kevin going to swing in now with both of his guys. Gets an Angel. Angel proper here, I believe. Getting that from the token box alongside the table. So, in for 7. And Gerard
needs a Supreme Verdict. Needs something.
He's in trouble here. He's got a Syncopate. He's got a lot of lands. Plays a Drown Yard. Says go.
Ouch. Is it charming Kevin Jones for his draw? In for 7, knocking Gerard to 4. Think twice.
Yes. Think twice from Gerard. Does he think twice here? He does. Flashback draws a Glacial Fortress. And we may be seeing a Game 3 very shortly if Gerard does not find an answer. He does not. I believe it's just another land. He has, I think, 8 cards in hand, and 6 or 7 are lands. That is quite the pile of lands.
Oh, that look.
Yeah. What can I do with all these cards? A Syncopate, and I'm not seeing another spell. Maybe there's a Dissipate in there, but I'm pretty sure it's 6-ish lands. Gerard trying to figure out what he can possibly do here. I think he has a Rest in Peace.
It looked like it.
Either a Rest in Peace. Yeah, he's got 2 Rest in Peace in the board.
Scoops him up.
Yeah, Rest in Peace not going to do anything for him there either. So Kevin Jones wins Game 2 in a flash with his flash deck.
Wah, wah, wah.
I mean, that's a great start from that deck. You saw it playing the long game in Game 1. Game 2, it shows its power in just the first few turns of the game. I believe Kevin just ended that game with 4 lands in play.
One of the things about Geist of St. Traft, which Kevin Jones has in his sideboard, is that it allows it by itself to essentially assemble an incredibly fast and hard to deal with clock. So that if it's in play, Gerard is suddenly forced essentially to have to cast Supreme Verdict or other similar sweep spells in order to be able to deal with it. And when you untap with a Geist of St. Traft in your hand, and you've got cards in your deck like Dissipate, like Is It Charm, like Counterflux, all it takes is maybe 1 or 2 counterspells to win the game because the damage is so fast from Geist of St. Traft.
You mean when you untap with it in play?
Yeah.
So, and you saw how quickly the game can go your way if you've got the Geist and they don't have an answer. Gerard has a few other ways of dealing with. He does have that main deck Tribute to Hunger ×2 and 1 Devour Flesh, although he would have needed 2 of those or some way to deal with Augur of Bolus before he could use one of those to get rid of the Geist of St. Traft in that game. So Gerard has the answers. It was just a matter of finding them, and he could not find them there in Game 2. It's funny you used the word assemble. They're talking about Geist of St. Traft, assembling an entirely different kind of legion. Just less than a legion, just like 1 angel, but a bunch of angels. Is that like a legion of angels? Wasn't there a movie called Legion that had to do with like angels? It was a really bad movie.
It was a really bad movie. I'm sorry that you watched it.
I didn't watch it. I just saw the trailer.
I'm sorry that I watched it.
Okay, that's fair.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Joey Pasco, sorry. This is the StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And I'm not sure about you, but when I was here earlier, I was enjoying the fact that there were senators and presidents, and, well, one president, and,
Currently.
and other members of government all around me. Who knows where, but they're all around me in the city.
It is pretty exciting how, to be walking around in D.C. and knowing, like, all that stuff that they talk about?
It happens here.
It happens right here.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually looking for the bill, that, like, tells you how bills are made. I'm just a bill sitting up here on Capitol Hill. But yeah, it's a great city. If you get a chance, make sure you come and visit. And you know what? If you're close, and if you're on the East Coast, everybody is close on the East Coast to D.C. because of trains.
Yeah.
If you're close, get down here for the Legacy. The best constructed format of all time is Legacy, and we've got it coming tomorrow, so make sure you get down here.
Also, D.C., I believe, the current record holder for largest Legacy Open, with about, I think, 350 players is the number, and Choi gives me the thumbs up, so that's at least correct according to Choi. We don't know if Choi knows for sure. He just likes to give people thumbs up.
The game starts, and I'm not going to call a Think Twice on turn 2 action, so as of turn 3, no action from either player.
Think Twice is exactly the kind of thing Gerard wants to do. Of course, Kevin does the same thing with Azorius Charm here. Going to cycle it, draw a card. These early turns of the game for these decks are mostly about setup, especially for Gerard. Kevin obviously could use the early turns to play, a Geist of St. Draft like he did last game. Rest in peace, I believe, off the top there for Gerard.
I'm curious if Gerard, because he has access to 2 rest in peace, if he just brings in 1 rest in peace in this matchup, because Kevin's deck is not explicitly a graveyard deck, but it is a Snapcaster deck. And the first rest in peace is awesome, but all subsequent rest in pieces are not great.
Yeah. So you see the first one there resolves and removes graveyards from the game. And Gerard passes back with 2 mana up. Kevin plays his 4th land, a Sacred Foundry, tapped, not representing that Restoration Angels we saw a lot in game 1. Passes back to Gerard. Drown Yard here on turn 5 for Gerard, and he passes. Looks like a Think Twice from Kevin.
Think twice only once.
Yeah, can't think twice with a Rest in Peace in play. At least you can't think twice. And another Sacred Foundry from Kevin, tapped. Gerard, I believe, just drew Godless Shrine.
I think I see a second rest in peace in Gerard's hand. So I think he did bring in both.
We see a Godless Shrine for Gerard, and it's into play untapped. So he is planning on making use of that mana, and he immediately taps it, casts a Duress.
That gets us Counterflux. That's impressive.
Yeah, Kevin counterfluxes the Duress.
What is he protecting?
It's like several lands, and I'm not sure what. Maybe a Psychic Spiral?
I think I see a Dispel.
Ah,
a Gideon.
Choi says he sees Gideon, but we know Choi just makes stuff up.
Okay. Jace, Architect of Thought, gives an amazing split here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, yeah, either basically
Sphinx or Sphinx and land.
Yeah, so Gerard takes Sphinx and land. Jace, Architect of Thought, doing some work. Really like to see that, be seeing play in Standard after it was initially huge in Todd Anderson's first,
Gideon, Champion of Justice.
And yeah, there's another Planeswalker very interesting to see in Standard. So Gideon, up to 5. Gerard says, Gideon? That's interesting. There you see, 4 mana for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +1 to put a loyalty counter on Gideon for each creature target opponent controls.
Oof. Okay, Detention Sphere takes care of the 1 Gideon.
Yeah, leave that Gideon up there for a second choice so people can read it. So you see, it just added 1 counter because there are no creatures on Gerard's side, but one loyalty is fine because it can make Gideon into a 5/5 beater with his 0 ability, and a 5/5 can do a lot of work. But as you see, Gerard answered it. So
Azorius Charm, Syncopate. He says Charms or Syncopate. I think Gerard wisely takes the Charms. Syncopate not very effective right now.
things looking pretty good for Gerard, finding a lot of answers to Kevin's threats and drawing a lot of cards at the same time.
Gerard putting a Watery Grave into play this late in the game and paying life.
Kevin plays a Hallowed Fountain, his in play tapped.
First drown of the game, and these are all removed from the game. I think I saw. I think I saw a dissipate, but I'm not 100% sure. Kevin put them mostly off screen when he did that. Gerard ups the count on the Jace, says go. Kevin land go.
Kevin is holding a Dispel. That's the card that I initially thought was maybe Psychic Spiral, but it doesn't really look that much like Psychic Spiral now that I see it a little more clearly.
End of the turn, a pair of Azorius Charms we saw earlier are turned into to new cards. One of them is Augur of Bolas. I believe we'll see an Augur happen in a moment.
Jace goes up to 3 counters.
Not. He just lays the land, leaves the Augur in hand. Jace at 3.
How many Drown Yards does he have in play? I believe 2 now. He is setting it up to double drown. You can see Gerard there with 8 lands lined up, including 2 Drown Yards.
Reckoner.
Boros Reckoner is going to come down for Kevin, and does it resolve? We know Kevin has. Yeah, it looks like it resolved. We know Kevin has a Dispel.
Sphinx's Revelation, Snapcaster.
As a nice little drown.
Thought Scour, Restoration Angel, Azorius Charm.
Another nice drown. You see Kevin is kind of flooded, and Drown Yard is hitting. He just hit 6 spells. Jace goes up to 4. Gerard now would like to find an answer for that Reckoner.
Laying Augur.
Augur Bolas is a reasonable answer. And he finds
Supreme
a Supreme
Verdict.
Gerard says go. 8 lands, actually 9 lands untapped there. He can Drown Yard twice. Reckoner gets in, or Reckoner attacking anyway.
And the Reckoner should be a 2/3 after the Jace's ability.
So attacks
and he
Jace.
blocks. The 1 damage is redirected from Augur of Bolas from the Reckoner to Gerard, which he then redirects to the Jace. Hence the -1 on the Jace.
And here we have a drown that hits Assemble the Legion, negate, and a land. And
he does not do the second drown. He instead opts to leave 5 mana open.
Interesting. I'm not sure why.
He was probably making sure that he wouldn't let Kevin Jones resolve a Sphinx's Revelation.
That would make a lot more sense. So here we go with drowning yet again. For Gerard, I believe this is a main phase drown. 2 main phase drowns.
Nope. Kevin just took a very fast turn.
Yeah, in fact, I think the same exact thing happened. Kevin just attacked, Augur blocks, redirects damage to Jace. That's why we saw Jace just go up to 4, go down to 3 immediately. So we saw the same exact sequence as the previous turn. And here it is again. Jace ticks up to 4. Reckoner attacks, Augur blocks.
Here we go.
The 1 to Jace.
Assemble fights.
All right, so we're going to fight over Assemble the Legion, I believe. Unless Gerard feels confident that that Assemble is not going to get out of hand. No, he's going to try negating it. And Kevin, I believe, has the Dispel, but no, he opts not to use it there. Does not want to fight over the Assemble the Legion. So Assemble does not resolve. And another Drown Yard hits Restoration Angel. Restoration Angel is a charm. And
double drown.
Drown number 2 hits Reckoner, land, and is it Geist of St. Traft?
Yes. Untap, says Gerard. Only 14 cards remain in Kevin Jones' deck.
It is not looking good for Kevin Jones. I'll tell you, I really like Gerard's Esper list. This is my kind of deck. Reckoner again in, Augur blocks, 1 damage redirected to Jace, Architect of Thought. Jace on 3 counters, and a Searing Spear from Kevin will take out that Jace. Probably too little too late. We're going to see a Drown Yard activation from Gerard, and a second Drown Yard activation.
There's a Witchbane orb,
and as soon
Kevin
as it hit the
scoops it up.
Witchbane orb, Kevin knew he did not have any further outs. Finding that Witchbane orb earlier, though.
An alligator in the background watching on.
It could be an alligator, it could be a dinosaur. Not quite sure. We may need to catch up with that guy and find out.